What's going on, you guys? Kenny here, also known as SilentFan85. Welcome to another vlog. Um, gonna get a little political here, but I've noticed something, and I'm gonna talk about what I've noticed, and then kind of go to where I think the root problem is. I am an independent. I'm an left-leaning independent when it comes to politics here in America, and there is always a bit of a uh what feels like grumpiness when it comes to talking politics. It's been like that for a long time. Politics and religion, because every both subjects are set up in such a way that if you're not for one team, then you're my opponent, and I can't agree with anything you say. That unfortunately seems to be the mentality sometimes. And that's part of the problem here in America most of the time. That's part of the problem here in America because you have Republicans and Democrats. If you're not on one team, you're the enemy. Anything you say is totally wrong, or you're going to destroy America. When the argument really should be, what policies are going to destroy America? What policies are going to benefit the people? What policies are bought and paid for by lobbyists? Or what politician? It should be down to an individual basis, but it's not. And that's really one of the detriments of our two-party system. It's really kind of sad because what it also tends to do is put party above country. It's a really rampant tribalism that is really failing America, especially at this point. Look, I mean, I haven't lived through a whole lot of heated elections like 2020 is going to shape up to be. 2016 was heated, but 2020 is going to be something else as of this recording. Because there's a lot at play here. For example, I'm a Sanders supporter. A lot of people come at me with, oh, socialist. You know what, fine, keep it, whatever you say. But you've got certain politicians right now that are being come at from both Republicans and establishment Democrats, right? You've got Justice Democrats, so to speak, or Democratic Socialists, that establishment Democrats want nothing to do with them, but yet they've gotten elected in. They are in seats of power. They are a part of the party. And they're used to the old ways. There's hardly any progression there. Not a whole lot. And then you've got Republicans. While there is a progressive wing of Republicans, I have engaged in conversation with progressive Republicans, and I highly respect them. But a majority of the time what you hear with Republicans is it tends to be more, in my experience, kind of closed-minded. But it's also the same part on the Democratic part when it comes to establishment. But it's really more of a faux progression on the Democratic part. At least with Republicans, you tend to know where they stand. But with establishment Democrats, they tend to play a role or play a part, much like 99% of politicians. But when it comes down to party, that's tend to be how it is. So, there are certain parts of each party. But again, it's still a team mentality. And that's unfortunately the way it's done when it comes to the court of public opinion. Facts tend to go right out the window. Because if you have a label on you, then you don't matter if you're opposition to that label. That's the sad part about politics. What I find the most interesting about politics, though, and I've said this before in other vlogs, is that how man interacts with each other, how humankind interacts with each other. It can be a combination of very passionate hate, but very passionate caring for the state of humankind. It's so fascinating to me, because I have a very curious personality, and I'm very humanist. I care about policies that will benefit um, the American population, my fellow brothers and sisters of America. Um, and that's really what it should be about, is policy and the record of the politician that you are voting for. Because, these are the people that make up the government. The government is the people we elect. But the government is also the policies in place, the laws in place, the practices. I don't really, a lot of people would argue tradition in government is a good thing, possibly, but tradition is amiable and it comes and goes. I mean, we at one point, traditions in the government became so outdated that they influenced policy so much that got kind of ridiculous. So tradition in government, not so much in my opinion. But again, back to the point at hand. Look, basically what I want to say overall is that even if you're a Republican, if you're a Democrat, if you're a fellow independent, try to stay more open-minded when it comes to dealing with fellow Americans. Don't get caught up in the fervor of your party mob mentality, especially online. It's very hard to do. But at the same time, just remember, these are fellow Americans you're talking to. They are fellow human beings. And we all want the best for America in our own ways. So try to be a little bit more open-minded. Even what also tends to get mixed up in politics, especially here in America, is religion. If you're talking to somebody that's religious or non-religious, try to keep that in mind. Now, when it comes to my own personal opinion about religion and politics, they do not go hand in hand. Because the thing about religion is that 9 times out of 10, most religion calls for an end times, an apocalypse of some sort. Government is meant to be permanent. And you can't mix the two ideologies. Because if you are religious and you have regard for an end times, just remember to vote aside from that. Remember to vote that you're voting for policies that will affect people, even if said apocalypse does or doesn't happen. I would also argue the same for if you think about like climate change. There is a chance for those that are not religious that we're going to be here for a while. We are here on this planet for a long time. So when it comes to voting, when it comes to the climate, when it comes to things of that nature, just try to remember that we're a mix of people with beliefs and non-beliefs. It's really hard to grasp. It really is. And it's even harder to put into practice. But if we can do that, if we can just remember that there are other human beings and we're going to be here for a long time, that America especially, while we have our freedoms and countries around the planet share the same freedoms in a lot of regard, we are all wanting the best for our country. We all want to work, we all want to be productive, we all want to live, we all want to prosper. And if we can set certain standards for those needs to be met, it would go a long way. But we can't do that unless we as a people can actually agree and not let people in power divide us based on a label. America is not some free-for-all. America is a set of principles and amendments and constitutional rights that should be abided by. But at the same time, they should also evolve and progress. So that's where majority rule comes in. We have a democracy at work in an active republic. That's essentially how it is when it comes down to it. So it's just something to remember. You know, we're a country. We're a very young country, too, compared to the rest of the world. We're still trying to find our way. We're in our teenage years. But all in all, again, we're just Americans trying to do the right thing. And remember to don't let anybody tell you, based on loose facts or possible hearsay or even propaganda, how to do you or how to vote. Because we all get very busy in our own lives. We have to work. We have to take care of kids if you have kids. There's people we take care of, good times we want to have. But remember to do a little bit of research on how you vote, what you're voting for, who you're voting for. And try to vote with both your heart and your head. Not just because of some mob mentality or some party lines. Never put party over country. That would be my advice. Anyway, it's just a bit of a vlog. Kind of had it on my mind. And I personally think the whole two-party system here in America is... It does work when it works right, when everything coalesces and we can actually come to an understanding and we're not divided up and gutting for each other's throats like certain leaders are doing right now. But unfortunately, that's how things are going right now, and it tends to cause a really, really fervored tribe mentality. And while people get very passionate, we've also got to remember to remain cool-headed as much as possible. Because again, we're all human, we're all Americans. We just want the best for our country, and just go from there. So anyway, thanks for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. Remember, you're awesome. Never let the world tell you otherwise. See ya.